Hello everyone. Today I want to share a story that has weighed heavily on my mind. The story of my dear friend Robert Miller. He's nearly 10 years younger than I am, and not long ago he was as sharp as they come. Loved playing chess, took daily walks, and never once forgot a birthday, especially those of his grandchildren. But within just a few weeks, everything changed. Robert began struggling to recognize his own son. He couldn't find the bathroom in his own home. One day he simply forgot who he was. I was stunned. Just 3 months earlier, he was the picture of health. People in the neighborhood called him the strongest senior on the block, and yet his mind betrayed him. Swiftly and without warning. I don't tell you this to alarm you, but to help you see a growing reality that I've witnessed time and time again throughout my 65 years as a practicing physician. Dementia is becoming more common, and it doesn't always give us time to prepare. What's most heartbreaking is that many of those affected were not long ago just like you and me. Healthy, active, full of life. At 91 years old, I still see patients every day, still write, still lecture, and it's not because I'm lucky or genetically gifted. It's because I've followed certain principles, daily habits, that have helped keep my brain clear and my spirit strong. Today, I want to share those with you. This video is not just about health tips. It's a roadmap for preserving your independence, your dignity, and your memory as you grow older. I urge you to stay with me until the very end, because every single piece of advice I'm about to share could be the key to living not just longer, but better, with clarity, vitality, and peace of mind. One of the most essential factors that has helped me maintain mental clarity well into my 90s is consistent physical activity. From a medical standpoint, this is not merely a lifestyle suggestion, it is a clinically validated approach to slowing brain aging and preventing cognitive decline. In a well-documented study involving over 3,500 older adults, walking for just 30 minutes 3 times a week was associated with a 47% reduction in the risk of dementia. That figure is significant by any standard. Personally, I take a morning walk at 7 a.m. around the park near my home. Rain or shine, hot or cold, I make it a priority. In the early days, my knees ached and every step felt heavy, but I kept at it, and on those rare occasions when health issues forced me to stop walking for a week or two, I could feel the difference almost immediately. My memory became foggy, I forgot patient names, and even simple prescriptions became difficult to recall. Remarkably, once I resumed walking, my clarity returned within days. This is not a subjective impression, it's a direct reflection of how responsive the brain is to consistent movement. Exercise increases blood flow to the brain, delivering oxygen and nutrients that keep neural tissue healthy, especially in the hippocampus, the region responsible for memory. The hippocampus naturally shrinks with age, but regular physical activity has been shown to increase its volume, much like resistance training strengthens muscle. And the good news is, this doesn't require intense workouts or a gym membership. Even a slow 10-minute walk a day can be a meaningful start. Over time, your body and your brain will adapt and improve. Equally critical to brain health is nutrition. As a physician, I often remind my patients, what you eat doesn't just fuel your body, it shapes your brain. The effects are cumulative, and dietary habits over time can either support or damage cognitive function. I personally follow a Mediterranean-style diet which emphasizes vegetables, fruits, whole grains, fish, nuts, and extra virgin olive oil. I avoid fried foods, ultra-processed snacks, and anything excessively salty or sugary. These aren't just bad for your heart, they're neurotoxic. In fact, studies show that older adults who consume fried foods daily are nearly 3 times more likely to develop dementia compared to those who don't. Every morning, I eat a small serving of blueberries and a handful of walnuts. Blueberries are rich in antioxidants that protect brain cells, and walnuts are full of healthy fats that support cognitive function. I also make an effort to eat oily fish at least twice a week. Mackerel, salmon, and sardines are particularly beneficial. In addition, I stay well hydrated, drinking at least 6 to 8 glasses of water daily. Even mild dehydration can impair memory and concentration, especially in older adults. I'm not asking you to overhaul your entire diet overnight. Start small. Replace one sugary snack with fruit. Use olive oil instead of butter. Read food labels. These minor changes, when maintained consistently, can significantly alter the course of cognitive aging. In the next segment, I'll discuss a crucial habit that is often overlooked, one that plays a central role in memory consolidation and mental clarity. Many people are lacking it, and that deficiency might be the reason your thinking feels slower or less sharp. Let's take a closer look at that next. Another critical factor, and one that is often underestimated, is sleep. As a physician, I cannot emphasize enough how essential quality sleep is for brain health, particularly as we age. During sleep, especially deep sleep, the brain undergoes a process of restoration. It is not simply resting, it is actively working to clear out metabolic waste products, including beta amyloid, a protein closely associated with Alzheimer's disease. Scientific studies using brain imaging have shown that individuals who consistently sleep fewer than 6 hours a night have significantly higher levels of these harmful substances compared to those who sleep 7 to 8 hours. In fact, poor sleep has been directly linked to accelerated cognitive decline and increased risk of dementia. I maintain a strict sleep schedule. I go to bed at 9 p.m. and wake up at 5 a.m., a full 8 hours. I avoid screens in the evening, take a warm bath, and read a light book before bed. These routines help signal to my body and mind that it is time to rest, and the results speak for themselves. I wake up refreshed, my focus is sharper, and I find it easier to recall names, dates, and clinical details. Sleep is not a luxury, it is a biological necessity for memory consolidation, emotional balance, and cognitive performance. If you struggle with sleep, there are simple behavioral adjustments you can make. Avoid caffeine in the afternoon. Take a short walk during the day. Try a glass of warm milk in the evening. Even light stretching or gentle breathing exercises can improve sleep quality. Several of my patients who used to rely on sleep medication were able to sleep naturally again after adopting these habits. And they also reported feeling more alert and more in control of their thoughts during the day. Equally important to rest is the active stimulation of the brain. The brain, like any other organ, thrives on use. In my professional experience, cognitive inactivity is one of the fastest paths to decline. Many people retire and unintentionally stop challenging their minds, assuming that rest means disengagement. But disengagement leads to atrophy, not only of the body but of the brain itself. I solve crossword puzzles every morning with my newspaper. It's not always easy, but that's the point. Mental effort strengthens neural pathways and encourages the formation of new ones. I also play chess twice a week with neighbors. It's more than a game, it's a workout for the brain. Strategy, memory, decision-making, all of these skills are activated simultaneously. And perhaps even more importantly, I laugh, talk, and engage socially while doing it. One of my patients, Mr. Lee, age 82, was diagnosed with early-stage cognitive decline. Instead of relying solely on medication, I encouraged him to start playing chess and working through word puzzles each day. 5 years later, his condition had hardly progressed. He told me, "Doctor, every time I sit down to play, my mind feels alive again." That is not a miracle. It's neuroplasticity in action. Even learning something new, a language, a musical instrument, a new recipe, stimulates the brain in ways that passive activities like television cannot. I started learning English vocabulary again at age 80. At first, it was frustrating, but I persisted. Now I can read simple English books and even hold a short conversation. The act of learning challenges the brain to grow, adapt, and form new connections, the very opposite of degeneration. In the following section, I will speak about a factor that has surprised even the most experienced researchers, one that doesn't come from medicine or diet, but from something as human as conversation and connection. We'll explore that next. One of the most powerful yet often overlooked protectors of brain health is human connection. As physicians, we tend to focus on clinical markers, blood pressure, glucose levels, MRI scans. But over the years, I've seen again and again that loneliness, isolation, and lack of social interaction are just as harmful to the brain as any physical disease. In fact, research shows that older adults who live alone and go entire days without meaningful conversation are at a 64% higher risk of developing dementia. The reason is biological. Conversation, even small talk, is cognitively demanding. It engages multiple brain regions: language, memory, emotional processing, reasoning. The simple act of talking to someone exercises the brain in a way that television or passive activities do not. It's like giving your brain a daily workout without even realizing it. I make it a point to meet with friends or family at least 3 times a week. Sometimes we talk about health, sometimes about the weather or books. It doesn't matter. What matters is the act of relating, of exchanging thoughts, of staying emotionally and intellectually engaged. One of my patients, Mrs. Park, a widow living alone in her 70s, had begun to show signs of memory loss. I encouraged her to join a local choir group, not because of the music itself, but because of the people. 6 months later, she returned for a follow-up visit smiling. "Doctor," she said, "I remember lyrics from decades ago, and I finally stopped confusing my grandchildren's names." The improvement in her cognitive function was clear, but so was the light in her eyes. Social engagement, I've come to believe, is as vital as any prescription I could write. But maintaining social bonds is only one side of the coin. The other is how we handle the pressures and stressors of daily life. Chronic stress is devastating to the brain. It increases cortisol levels, which over time damages the hippocampus, the very center of memory. In older adults, prolonged stress can accelerate brain aging by years, even a decade. To protect myself, I practice meditation every morning for just 10 minutes. No elaborate ritual. I simply sit quietly, breathe deeply, and allow my mind to settle. At first, my thoughts raced, but with practice, I found stillness. Scientific studies confirm that regular meditation can reduce the size of the brain's stress centers, while enhancing regions responsible for focus and emotional regulation. Laughter is another simple yet potent remedy. I make time every evening to watch a comedy show or read something that makes me smile. Laughter triggers the release of endorphins and lowers stress hormones by up to 39%, according to recent findings. It doesn't just lighten your mood, it strengthens your brain. Equally important is mindset. I've come to understand that a positive, grateful outlook doesn't just make life more pleasant, it actually protects the brain. In a long-term study tracking over 1,500 seniors, those with a more optimistic attitude had a 38% lower risk of developing dementia. Before I go to sleep each night, I recall 3 things I was grateful for that day: a good meal, a kind word from a patient, a warm sunrise. These moments of reflection produce neurochemicals that improve memory and emotional resilience. Gratitude, like any habit, can be trained. One of my patients, Mr. John, struggled with depression after losing his spouse. I asked him to write down just one thing he appreciated each evening. 3 months later, not only had his mood improved, his memory test scores had as well. These emotional and relational practices, connecting with others, managing stress, and nurturing a positive mindset, are not secondary to brain health. They are foundational. And in the next part of our discussion, I'll share how proper nutritional support and medical monitoring can further safeguard your mind, and how, when combined with the habits we've explored so far, they create a powerful defense against cognitive decline. Alongside healthy habits and social connection, proper nutritional support plays a central role in preserving brain function, especially as we age. While food should always be our primary source of nutrients, in some cases supplementation becomes necessary. After decades of clinical observation and review of emerging research, I can say with confidence that certain vitamins and nutrients are particularly important for maintaining cognitive health. Vitamin D, for instance, is essential not only for bone strength but also for brain function. A large-scale study in Japan that tracked over 1,000 adults aged 65 and older found that those with adequate vitamin D levels had a 53% lower risk of developing dementia. This is especially relevant in countries where many older adults receive insufficient sunlight. I routinely recommend my patients get their vitamin D levels checked, and, if needed, to supplement under medical supervision. Vitamin B12 is another crucial nutrient. As we age, our ability to absorb B12 diminishes. A deficiency in this vitamin can lead to confusion, memory problems, and even depression. I've had patients misdiagnosed with cognitive impairment when, in fact, the root cause was a B12 deficiency that was easily corrected. B12 is found in animal-based foods like meat, fish, and eggs, so for those who follow a vegetarian or limited diet, supplementation may be necessary. And of course, omega-3 fatty acids, found abundantly in fatty fish like salmon and mackerel, are vital for protecting brain cells and reducing inflammation. For patients who don't consume enough fish, I often suggest fish oil capsules, again, only after confirming that it's appropriate based on their health status and medications, but no supplement can compensate for poor lifestyle choices. These nutrients should be viewed as supportive tools, not replacements for a healthy diet and regular activity. Always consult with a medical professional before starting any supplement, especially if you are taking other medications. In addition to nutrition, I urge all my patients to monitor their blood pressure and blood sugar levels closely. Hypertension and diabetes are two of the most significant and modifiable risk factors for dementia. High blood pressure can damage the small vessels in the brain, reducing oxygen supply and leading to vascular cognitive impairment. Elevated blood sugar levels similarly are toxic to neurons and have been linked with double the risk of developing Alzheimer's. I had a patient, Mr. Lee, who was diagnosed with both hypertension and type 2 diabetes at age 70. At first, he was reluctant to take his medications regularly. But after we discussed how these conditions could impact his memory and independence, he took control of his health. With proper treatment, diet, and daily walks, his cognitive function remained sharp well into his late 70s, and his memory test scores even improved. These are not abstract risks. They are real, and they are preventable. And finally, I want to speak about something that might seem unrelated to science, but is in fact one of the most powerful drivers of brain health. Having a sense of purpose. Aging without direction often leads to mental stagnation, but those who continue to set goals, no matter how small, keep their brains active, adaptive, and engaged. I set a new goal for myself every year. Last year, I lectured at 20 hospitals. This year, I'm working on writing another book. It's not about ambition, it's about vitality. When you have something to work toward, your brain stays in motion. You plan, you reflect, you adapt. All functions that stimulate the executive centers of the brain. Studies have shown that retirees who maintain a sense of purpose experience 42% less cognitive decline than those who feel directionless. Even small goals, writing letters to grandchildren, learning a new recipe, volunteering once a week, can have a meaningful impact. I recall one of my patients, Mr. Park, who experienced mild depression and memory lapses after retirement. We talked about what gave him joy, and he decided to start tutoring his grandchildren in reading. That one decision gave structure to his week, renewed his confidence, and over time improved both his mood and cognitive clarity. He told me, "I thought I was teaching them, but really they were helping me stay sharp." All of this leads us to one simple truth. Your brain thrives when your life has rhythm, purpose, and connection. In the final part of our conversation, I'll help you bring everything together and show you how these small, consistent actions can add up to a life that is not just longer, but fuller, clearer, and more meaningful. What matters most now is that you take action, starting today, not next week, not when it's more convenient, today. Even the smallest step can set change in motion. A 5-minute walk around the block, a quick phone call to a friend, a decision to eat something fresh instead of processed. These are not trivial choices. They are the beginning of a new direction. In medicine, we understand that it is not the grand interventions but the small, consistent habits that yield the greatest long-term impact. Just as cognitive decline doesn't happen overnight, neither does resilience. It is built slowly and steadily, one intentional choice at a time. I've seen it again and again. Patients who made simple adjustments in their daily lives and over time regained clarity, energy, and a renewed sense of purpose. They didn't need miracle cures. They just needed to start. I encourage you to pick one thing from everything we've discussed, just one, and commit to it. Maybe it's walking after lunch. Maybe it's calling your grandchildren every Sunday. Maybe it's replacing your evening snack with a handful of nuts and berries. And once that becomes part of your routine, build on it. Let change grow slowly, but let it grow. Because every single day your brain is either being nourished or neglected. And the future of your mind is not determined by age or genetics alone. It is shaped by how you choose to live today. As a doctor who has dedicated over 6 decades to this field, and as someone still actively practicing at 91, I speak not only from science, but from personal experience. These principles have sustained me, and I believe they can do the same for you. Take care of your brain. It is the vessel of your memories, your personality, your independence, and your joy. Begin now, not perfectly, just genuinely. And if this message has helped you, I hope you'll pass it on to someone you care about. Because knowledge, when shared, becomes something even more powerful, a chance to change another life for the better. Thank you for being here. I'm rooting for your strength, your clarity, and your future.